behind this. We do see the starport starting on up. 2 Marines being built out of the reactor, not swapping that off to the factory, and getting a tech lab up. Like you said, Zombie Grub, kind of weirdness. We're going to be seeing that fast tank play probably coming out here. 2 Banshees can still look to try and get some damage done, either cleaning up some of the creep spread or just one-shotting a few workers if the queens are out of our position. And there are just 5 queens out with a lot of roaches on the way here for Serral.
The Banshees could see either a really still dramatically like greedy Zerg, 4th base already on the way, tons of drones, no army, and maybe he would push out. But this is looking more just like a Hellion list expand.
Yeah.
So, the tanks need protection against any early roach pushes, the Banshees as well, but the Banshees provide a little bit of that harassment.
Ooh, just outside of the vision range of that Spore Crawler, they're going to be able to snipe off a gas geyser. That's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, that's something.
Uthermal, though, has a very, very aggressive style, so even though he is turning this into a macro game, he loves putting on the pressure from a lot of different angles, trying to pull his opponent apart. This is where Serral, again, is a bit difficult. Those changelings see the entire army moving across the map and know the angle is coming in from.
Exactly. Serral was already producing army even before this, though, realizing the medevac timing. Right, you see medevacs, 2 of them, this usually means you're going to be pushing. And he might just actually know a great deal about this build, so he is kind of like totally prepared. The Lings quickly darted up to the main base, but had they been here, they would have totally taken on the main army fight. So Uthermal goes, nope, 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 nope. Runs home.
And there was that positioning that Uthermal is looking for on the south side of that 4th base, but he doesn't find it, and by getting out of there, at least he does keep all of his units alive. It can be a little bit scary sometimes when you go for one of these pushes and start unloading, maybe you siege up your tanks, and you're like, ah, God, he's jumping on me. You lose your tanks, and it's just kind of disaster from there. But yeah, the upgrades now finishing up there for Uthermal is going to have a pretty solid upgrade lead with this.
The 6 o'clock basically is a little low in that creep spread, and that's probably where Uthermal is going to try and push into.
It does take a little bit longer to get there because he has to kind of go the long route, which he is actually going to be going for, like you said. But this is what I mean. He's already starting up 3 Vipers. Imagine Zombie Grub, the 2-2 push, but the Vipers are already done. You have Blinding Clouds available.
It makes it a lot more brutal, but if Uthermal knows that, he figures it out or he scans whatever, then he can split his tanks. And the tricky thing about what he does is that, and we saw this in the last game of him versus Raynor, or actually the Year 0 game, was that while the tanks are gone, and that sucks, if your Marines are off creep in a concave, sometimes that Zerg underestimates it. Right?
Yeah.
And Blinding Clouds don't do so well against Marines since they hopefully run it backwards out of them, although sometimes they run forwards.
The Vipers start to build up that energy. They now have enough for some Blinding Clouds here whenever he wants to try and move in. He's morphing in a couple of final Banelings here. The Banshees joining the fray, which are taking some damage on the Queens, but the Overseer is actually a little bit further back, and we're starting to see a couple of Marines poaching their way forward, trying to get some damage done.
Those Banshees get any Banelings whatsoever, and they're pretty worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. The Queen's actually taking quite a bit of damage there. 1 Queen with full energy goes down, and the 4th base is going to get sniped off here. The Vipers...
I like it.
I think the Vipers were... I guess he's so concerned about the drop in the main base. He has a bunch of Lings patrolling there, and we just really never saw the Vipers moving in.
I think that's a great deal of respect that Serral just showed there. He gives up the base without losing much army, and that's not a big deal if you do that, and he's banking enough anyways. So you just wait for a better opportunity. You wait for more of a concave, more of a surround, which he will be coming from the backside with creep spread.
He is. But man, I love that spread of tanks that you were talking about, where he seems like Uthermal is very ready for the Vipers. I don't even know that you can catch 2 tanks with 1 Blinding Cloud on any of those positions.
Not quite, no. He could try and shark around and just abduct them, for instance, up to the high ground. I can see in a couple locations, but he's going to go for a big surround.
Yeah, next round of reinforcements for Uthermal coming in behind this. Is it going to come in time? A lot of Blinding Clouds come down. They still manage to catch a lot of the tanks, but here are those reinforcements. Uthermal stemming back. Corrosive Biles not really connecting with anything, and another tank coming in from the high ground. Uthermal still manages to hold on, and he starts pushing those Vipers back. He gets 3 of them. That's every single one of the Vipers. There are barely any Banelings left over. 35 starting, but Uthermal is stemming his health away to try and seize this game.
He's going to get the hive, and he's looking for the actual win.
Oh my God. Serral can't even produce units right now. He's just making Banelings because that's all he can make.
But that's all he needs.
Oh.
And Uthermal is going to be forced to evacuate. He did not get the hive. He got the 4th base. He got a decent army trade there. But that wasn't the entire game. He also does supply block Serral quite a bit and will get out of there with his medevacs. That's all great news, but that's not the end of the game, where for a second there, it was looking like game over.
Does that? It's going to delay that, but...
Oh, he has a drop to the north. A single drop to the north pulled the entire army away, plus it was already out of position, so he kind of doom drops into the main base. Now keep in mind, he's going to be on creep, and he's going to be heavily stimmed.
Ooh,
another one. That is a good pick-off. It's immediately being made again, but it's where the army's taking such a long time to get here, and nothing can take care of the medevacs.
Yeah, it's really just queens, and a lot of the queens died in that last engagement. Looks like that drop on the north side did get cleaned up. This hatchery is going to get canceled over here. Uthermal is dancing around with a large number of Marines here and really causing problems for Serral.
Yeah, Serral was so thrown off due to that almost game-ending push that the late game, despite having a decent drone count, good number of hatcheries, it's not actually perfect. He's missing creep spread. Okay, that was a little awkward. He's missing creep spread in areas that he should have it. He also expanded northward, hoping to only have to deal with that push, but now he has to deal with an aggressive Terran who is going into the late game, and he's just totally not prepared to do so.
Okay, he has to defend this hatchery, having got his other hatchery on the south side of the map canceled multiple times. He is going to be able to push Uthermal back for a little bit, but those siege tanks so close to inching their way forward toward that hatchery. He moves into the main base and the other hatchery at the same time. He's going to be able to kill that second hatchery on the north side of the map. The drones and the queens evacuate, and the drop in the main base moves forward at the same time that Serral tries to move in. Blinding Cloud's getting thrown down on top of the tank. He does push him back, but in the main base, we're starting to see the hatchery taking a lot of damage. The Ultralisk Cavern is also potentially vulnerable.
When did he get the spawning pool again?
He got the spawning pool in the last time he moved.
No, but he remade it exactly.
Oh my god!
It now, and he still doesn't have one. The high Marine count, I mean, depending on how the engagement goes, can still rip through Ultra armor, but you're really looking more towards like Marauders, tanks in good position, or in this case, Liberators, which are a little low right now, could be abducted. But the Ultras, are they properly supported? Actually coming over the backside as well. Corrosive Biles help take down the Liberators, and the medevac pickup is going to be good. Again, no Corruptors, Parasitic Bomb never being quite available. This drop is going to take out another base, sending Serral back down to his original 4.
And the Ultras are slow to respond to get into the main base, so all of these Marines are just going to go straight over and start killing off more stuff. These Marines behind the mineral line sniping off a lot of drones, and also going to be able to potentially get the Evolution Chamber, the Baneling Nest, the Infestation Pit. The Ultras cannot get back there.
Oh, it's so brutal to see the Queens go down, but we do have a bit of a counterattack run by that's going to be able to take out the Planetary. Building armor had actually finished at that time, but no SCVs to mass repair, and too afraid of the Banelings. I think he actually pulled them away, willing to sacrifice the command center instead.
Oh, a bunch of units dying in the center of the map. It's just madness everywhere right now. A single bunker is going to be taken out here as they try to handle these Ultras. More Liberators being sieged up. Banelings exploding on some of the Marines. There is absolute chaos in this game.
But I think Serral has found a way to deal with Uthermal, because otherwise it wasn't looking so hot without any anti-air. But by applying pressure to Uthermal, he's messed up his micro, he's messed up his macro, and forced him to retreat. Now Serral has the momentum and that supply lead.
So many of the Liberators were also picked off by a bunch of these Ravagers, so the answer to the Ultras is still not really there right now for Uthermal. He's only got one Marauder out, he's only got 3 tanks out. He's going to right-click down that Hive, he's not going to be able to get it, but he does soften it up again just a little bit.
Yeah, this is the Planetary down here that Serral is currently attacking, and that's actually a bad thing. If it was an orbital, he could have lifted it and gotten away, but Uthermal has been set back down to his original 3 bases with a brand new command center, I guess, finished.
And there's that
and he doesn't
graph.
orbital.
Yeah, you can see that even though Uthermal got close to pulling that back, Serral has been dominating in terms of the income. Fusion Core gonna get taken out over here by a lone Ultralisk. But last time he tried to go for the attack, Serral just split off a handful of his Ultras and started killing Uthermal's bases, and that's exactly what's gonna happen again. Forces a liftoff over here. Uthermal goes into the south base, and he does get a snipe off on that. Luckily for Uthermal, orbital commands, like you said, Zombie Grub, can be lifted unlike planetaries, so he's going to be able to snag a couple of bases more or less for free.
I mean, literally a couple. That's really not so bad. Serral, his original 3 bases are basically mined out right now, so he is currently only mining from the top right, which is even being harassed a little bit. Uthermal not willing to give up this game quite yet, despite the massive amount of infrastructure damage he has taken. 38 workers with 4 mules isn't actually bad, but he's not producing what he wants to be producing at this point. He also is not mining efficiently because his initial bases also are mined out.
Oh, the missing link here for Serral. The Corruptor is something to deal with all of these medevacs. He is starting to get just a few right now, even getting in a weapon upgrade there for those Corruptors, since he has the minerals and the gas in the bank that are just starting to build up. And I really like that, because that is the one thing that ULTRALISK has been able to take advantage of, is the drop capabilities. The fact that Serral doesn't really have an answer to air right now besides Vipers and Queens.
Yeah, and if the game wasn't as chaotic as it was, this is the type of game where Serral has so much creep spread. He's like on top of them regardless. He has extra spore crawlers. He has Queens roaming around, but it's been such a back and forth game that for a long time Serral has been lacking the ability to kill those medevacs. He now has a better ability to do so, but he's still really looking for those parasitic bombs.
Prevent an ambush. ULTRALISK is insistent on trying to get into this bottom center base again.
Another parasitic bomb to injure 2 Liberators, but a good split there. This is a choke. I mean, ULTRALISK's hoping to make something happen here. The armor slide really isn't that different.
Oh, okay, the Liberator's focus firing down some of those Ultras. He does lose another Liberator or 2 there, but he also gets an Ultra or 2 in exchange. He's mining for his 4th base during all of this, but Serral's got something to say about ULTRALISK being able to mine. He's sending off a big counterattack on the north side, and ULTRALISK has got nothing to deal with that, as he is forced to take the engagement here. But Serral taking a lot of damage on these Ultras. I actually don't think this is a great engagement for Serral.
I don't think so. He must not realize that there's so much bio in a concave back there. His Vipers were also very nicely target fired by ULTRALISK, who also stops the run by and now is mining off at least 2 bases. He's trying to continue with momentum, but Serral has 4 more Ultras, 15 more Banelings on the way, and he's never really lost his Ravager count.
Yeah, ULTRALISK gets so close to that base, but these bio units are stimmed up. The cleave damage from the Ultras is going to be scary, but he focus fires down one after another. The Marauders finally starting to add in some extra DPS. The Ultra count is not that scary anymore. It's 2 of them left over. He needs to deal with the last one that's here and then the new one that's coming out, but the Siege Tank's a great position to fall back to.
Yeah, that was a perfect location there. He's now going to be able to reinforce with the army that had stopped that little run by. That was really quite scary. Once the Baneling count gets to what it currently is, that microing bio is on the timeout. Like Serral maybe replacing any given, like, Lings or Ultras. He puts them more into Broodlords, which ULTRALISK really doesn't have an answer to unless they're in low numbers. So he's still got to be careful not to sacrifice those.
Broodlord's revealed now, as they're going to pick away at one of these Siege Tanks, soften them up. And ULTRALISK, like we said before, is not really relying on the Liberators anymore since the Corruptors are all out. He is relying on the Marauders, but those Broodlords still cause a big, big concern. 1 or 2 Vikings being made at a time, because that's all that ULTRALISK can really afford right now.
Yeah.
I don't even know where that orbit or that command center is floating to. The bottom left?
Yes, actually, yes.
Oh boy.
Takes a stand with a planetary, and remember, he did get the building upgrades a long time ago. Then maybe he's got a shot, but he needs to take care of the Broodlord somehow. Yes, he can take, if a fight goes amazingly well, if Serral goes like it's overconfident, he can run underneath the Broodlords. But if he doesn't get overconfident and just pokes the Broodlords, there's not much ULTRALISK can do.
All right, Broodlords. Oh, there's a big stim for the entire army of ULTRALISK.
Oh my god, why? There's so many Banelings
There
up
are
there.
8 Ultras right now, and I'm not sure this Marauder count is going to be enough to handle that, while the Broodlords are also chipping away from the high ground.
ULTRALISK tried to pounce on top of the Broodlords, but it just isn't the type of army that he could actually fight against. He needed something in the sky or snipes from a distance. This is going to be it.
Yep. ULTRALISK bleeding out his army. Finally taps out. GG.